Hey there, my name is Miss Tina, and you are watching Squaziland, the occasional dose of my reviews, reactions, and opinions. This time, however, it is not going to be a review or a reaction. Maybe it's an opinion, yeah? We can put it this way, because this year I managed to collect my favorite chapters of One Piece. I did that last time too. If you remember, some of you actually have seen it. I have a collection of my top 7 chapters of last year, 2021. If you're interested in it, I believe that it was my first video. So I really encourage you that if you are interested in my opinion, go back there and watch it. Well, it's technically not a video, it's more like a podcast type of thing. Back then, when I started this channel, I wasn't sure if I'm going to show my face or not, but then I was like, what the heck, why not? And here I am. I didn't manage to get lots of views or subscribers, but which I did get to manage. I thank you very much, honestly. It's great that people actually are listening to you, and some people are like, you know what, I'm going to listen to her. And it makes me feel a bit happy. I'm not just doing this for my self, I'm doing this for somebody else too, and it gives it an extra crunch. However, if I were just do it for somebody else, then I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be so satisfying in the end. You gotta enjoy what you do, right? And I do enjoy it, and I do intend to continue it down the line. And next year will be my lucky year, perhaps. Maybe more people will view my videos. Who knows? So, before I go into my top chapters of this year, I humbly thank you for all the likes, subscriptions, going to Discord even. I really thank you. It means a lot. It really does. I'm not really a social media type of person who is constantly on Facebook, Discord, Instagram, whatever, Snapchat even. I'm not that type. I just like to talk about my favorite things, which mostly today are One Piece chapters. I do have other reactions, but sometimes I'm just too scared to, should I put this out? What would people think? Well, there were a few people who were actually interested in my other review of Paripikome and Lesei no Hoshi. I knew that Lesei no Hoshi wasn't very popular. I knew that the Planet of the Apes is very out there, and I also knew that Paripikome isn't exactly what everyone was watching. But I'm not aiming for things that people would have thousands opinions on. Well, except for One Piece, perhaps. But I just really wanted to show that these things, these anime, books, and manga, deserve your attention or anybody else's attention, because they are less talked about. People forget about them. Maybe there are mangas you like, but you just don't read it, right? But sorry for taking this long. Let's look at the best chapters of this year, because there were quite a few. I actually reread this year's chapters from chapter 1036 up until the latest 1070 chapter, and you have been here, you have been watching my reactions. Oops, it seems like Brooke fell off because I got a new Brooke figure. Funko figure. I usually don't like Funko Pops, but I think that Brooke is actually quite lovely and nice, and I got it from a very special person, whom I want to thank for this, and for Chopper too, and for the pillow too, for this hat too. Thank you very much. It means a lot. Thank you. But it seems like Brooke cannot stand here, so I will have to move back to my small table next time, which I will eventually. But I thought that this would be more in the. It would be more poetic to come back to the place where I started to do my videos, which is this chair. So, what I did was, as I mentioned before, I reread the chapters and then I gave them points from 10, and I was like, is it a 10 out of 10 chapter or a 9.5 or an 8? I scored all the chapters, and this is when I came up with the top 8. I couldn't do a top 10, I couldn't do a top 5, so it has to be a top 8 this year. What I have to admit that there aren't chapters which are lower than 6.5 or 6. It's actually, it was like that. This chapter is a 6 or a 6 or 5. This chapter is an 8 or an 8 or 5. So I did have some trouble along the way because I couldn't really decide whether it is an 8 or an 8.5. But regardless, these 8 chapters are truly the best. And most of these chapters are either 9.5, 9s, or 8.5 or 9s. These are the very best, which I think were the best. And you could see my reactions to these chapters. Yeah, let's not dwell into it. So the first chapter, and of course I have to tell you this too, that the best chapter of this year will come last. I'll try to go chronologically, but the best chapter will come last eventually. I have a cheat paper here because I do want to, keep in check what I liked about the chapter, because I don't want to reread the chapters or anything. I must have a cheat paper here, so sorry for just glancing over there. I'm also blinded by the light which is in front of me, so sorry if I'm coming off a bit amateurish. I try to change that next year. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so the first chapter is chapter 1042, which is winners shouldn't need rationalization. That was the fan translation of the chapter's titles. There will be lots of them. So what I liked about this chapter is that there is a CP0 member whom now I know whose name is or was Guernica, and what I really liked about this character and this chapter is that it showed, these are the tiny things. It showed layer to this character. It's like, I envy you, Drake, that you have a sense of justice you can follow and act on. Because CP0 members really are just following orders, and they cannot ever go against them. Which is funny, by the way, because now you can see Rob Lucci doing the same, or not the same, but exact opposite, that despite he was given an order, he's not doing that. I'm not sure if it's going to bite in his behind or back later on, but it's very weird that, we have here Guernica, who has to do everything he is told. He cannot follow his own sense of justice. He cannot follow his own logic. He has to do the job. Whereas Rob Lucci now is like, tra-la-la-la-la, I want to fight Luffy, I don't care. And he fights Luffy. There has to be a consequence for that, right? So it's very interesting to see. It was very interesting to see. But, I really like these minor moments of Guernica. And eventually, it gave layer to a character, and there were just a few panels of him. I believe he's a he. If not, then sorry about that. But these few panels gave, this is why I like One Piece, that even in a few panels that this character is deeper than you thought. It's not just I'm a masked evil person. It's so much more, and it's just brilliant. And you had the Luffy and Kaido fight. There were great panels in there, and you could see that in the end Guernica managed to hold off Luffy, and Luffy was defeated by Kaido with the help of Guernica. And even you could see on Guernica's face that he didn't want to do that, but he had to. And now Kaido had to relive the same situation which he did with Oden. He didn't have a proper fight with Oden either, because he was cheated. And this is sort of cheating too. And it was actually great that it was so shocking that Garnica managed to stop Luffy, and Luffy got hit by Kaido and was defeated there. It was like, what? How can they do that in a shonen, that, you know, in a big fight between two characters, a third character just shows up and, you know, does this to a duo? So it was really shocking and really good, and that's why this chapter is high on the list, namely in the top 8, more or less. Are there any things? Yes, the Luffy Kaido, I can't see properly, that's good. And yeah, so this interfering, there were so many nice panels there. I really appreciated them. And of course, there are also Kaido's drunken phases, which I really appreciated. I wasn't sure back then, you know, I was giggling kind of like, really? So I wasn't sure about that. But, you know, rereading it, I was like, okay, that checks out. It's actually quite fun to see Kaido's forms of drunkenness. So I think it was a nice move from Oda, and it made a better chapter. And sorry for looking into it, but I can't read anything. Oh my god, my eyes are so blinded. Sorry about that. Okay, so this chapter was indeed very good. The next chapter is chapter 1044, Warrior of Liberation. Well, obvious reasons. You know, many people watch this video for obvious reasons. Gear 5th or Gear 5, whichever you want to call it, appeared. We could get a sneak peek to Luffy's new ability as perhaps Joy Boy, I guess. What I really liked about it, the panel where Luffy shows up and, you know, he covers his eyes, and it was brilliant. I really liked that aspect of it. It was great. Mind you, I don't like Gear 5. I really don't. But there were great shots and panels which I really appreciated. And this is why this chapter is very, very high on the list. And not just that. In this chapter, we get some information which were really, really needed. For example, Luffy's devil fruit was not the gum gum fruit. It was something else. And we are now quite sure about it, that even Shanks knew about that. The human fruit, mythical type, sun god Nika. That's something, wow. You know, it was such a huge reveal. This might be the biggest reveal of the year. But, you know, there are other contenders there in the biggest reveals, but it's definitely something like, wow, really? And you're like, yes, really. And it was also nice that Luffy in Gear 5th just grabbed their Kaido, like Kaido was, you know, a snake type of thing, and he just grabbed him, and it's like, Doosh, go away. I really appreciated that. It was cool. It was really cool. So yeah. Anything else? Oh yes, there was Orochi, and Orochi's plea to Hiyori is like, you know what, Hiyori, we could be together, whatever, whatnot. It was a very lame attempt from him, and you know, Hiyori put him back into his place, and her monologue was very good. Her face drawn that way, it looked amazing. Unfortunately, Kanjuro came back, but fortunately he disappeared after this chapter, because it was just awful to see him come back and back again and again. It was just not that good. And this is part of why this chapter isn't the best chapter of the year, because there had to be Orochi in it. There had to be Kanjuro in it. And I just thought, even back then and now, that Kanjuro was not needed. Definitely not in this chapter anyways. So, and of course, Zunisha telling that Luffy is actually Joy Boy, you know, this confirmation is really something worth of theorizing, and it gave us lots of ideas. And if you go to any other channels, they probably have so many interesting conversations about that, and live conversations too. Maybe I should do a live video, right? Maybe more of you would come, right? Well, whatever is the case, I think that, yeah, There were great panels in this chapter too, obviously that's why I chose it, and that's it. This was a great chapter. The next chapter is chapter 1049, The World You Wish For. Well, this is the chapter where Kaido got defeated, so it definitely had to be in the top 8, right? It was such a huge fight. There were great panels in it, and I really appreciated it. It's not just, I didn't just choose it because it was the end of the fight, but also that, it had such great elements to it, really nice drawings, and I like that. And we also got a small Kaido flashback. Everyone was, and that includes me, of course, that, I was very disappointed that the Kaido flashback was so short, so unsatisfying in a way. I really wanted more out of this. Kaido's motivations, yeah, there was the witch, but why did the witch go to Kaido? What was the point of it? Who was that witch? Will we ever know who that witch was? Was that witch time traveler or something? What is that? Why can't we know anything about that? And I can understand how Kaido worked as a person, from this flashback. It really a bit flashes out his character, but not as much as I would hoped to. So this is why in the top 8 it is somewhere in the lower. It's an 8.5 chapter for sure. Because of this, it was a disappointment, this flashback. I wish we knew more. I understand that the Rocks Pirate must have a very, very huge history, and we will have a Rocks Pirates flashback soon. Hopefully before the end of One Piece. But still, it's like, what's the point of it, right? I really didn't know what to do with this information. I was like, really? So yeah, and of course, great panels. And we could see Luffy's wish. Luffy's wish is that, I want my friends to have meals. I want my friends to have something to eat. So, it's very, very simple, but, there is a world which he wishes to create. And we get to see how King was like, I support you, Kaido. King is a great character, by the way. He's the Zoro of Kaido, basically, which I really like. And, Kaido was like, Joy Boy will be someone who defeats me. And King is like, well, then that day will never come, so Joy Boy will never come. So Kaido knew that he wasn't Joy Boy. Maybe he intended to become one, but then he realized he couldn't. So that's that. Anything else regarding this chapter? I don't think so. And I think that, yeah, there were cool shots from the crew members. This when the water came down from Raizo, there were chaotic shots, but they were so perfect. And I think it did a lot to this chapter. And this is why this chapter is up in the top 8. Okay, so let's move on to chapter 1053, which is The New Emperors. Well, the title says it all, right? It's just brilliant. It turned out that Luffy became an emperor, and he got a bounty poster of 3 billion berries. And not just him, but there were also Law and Kid who got 3 billion, which I didn't think was the right amount. So they should have gotten less than Luffy. But at the same time, I think that Oda wants to make them equals. They are not equals. I don't get it. Maybe in the government's eyes, but giving them 3 billion each, it just didn't seem right to me. Okay, and this is a party chapter, so obviously I liked it. Party chapters are usually, you can see the important characters of the arc. They come together, they have a great time. You can see how their story is ending, resoluting, whatever. So it's great. And I really like the fact that Jinbei was such a good guy that he stayed behind it in the castle, and he could eat everything the castle had to offer, the best food, while Luffy and Co just ran out there to the streets and had street food, played street games, like in a Japanese, what's that, street festivals. And it was really great. I really appreciated and liked that a lot. And oh yes, and the important part of this chapter was when Sukiyaki was revealed to be alive. There were speculations, of course, that he was alive, and I knew that the Tengu guy was quite important, and the voice actor was a dead giveaway. But we couldn't be quite sure about it, but he is indeed Sukiyaki Kozuki. And his conversation with Robin regarding Pluton and everything was really a highlight of this chapter. Also and it was funny too, also what I really liked, that Robin was put out in the front. There were so many nice drawings of her. I really appreciated that, because last time she wasn't really here, on Whole Cake Island. She was already in Wano, and in Wano she got a great fight with Black Maria, and now she has an important conversation with Sukiyaki, which I really appreciated. I think it was cool. She had great panels, great conversations and dialogues, and that's important. And also Ryugoku, or Green Bull, has appeared, and he defeated Queen and Co like they were nothing, which means that this admiral is quite formidable. I like his design, Green Bull's design, but I'm not sure how to take his character yet. I wasn't really sold on him as to label him, wow, he's so cool. No, he's not. But maybe, maybe that's the reason. So Oda wanted to portray him as not someone who is likable. So evil that he's good. He's not a Rob Lucci, that's for sure. And let's see, okay, it's a party chapter. And last but not least, it was revealed that Buggy became an emperor, which once again was a huge shock. Nobody expected him to become an emperor except maybe from Buggy himself. So him becoming the king of the pirates, it's just logical at this point. It was a nice reveal, and later we will find out how could this happen, right? So let's move on to the next chapter, which is chapter 58. 1058, New Emperor. I like this chapter, and this was probably in my top 3. It's basically all about it was nice to see that the characters went out on their own journey again. The Straw Hats are on sea again, and it was great to see that Jinbe tries to fit into the crew, and now he sees that Nami is very scary. Luffy is in the cage because he endangered the whole crew and the ship, of course, and he got beaten by Nami, obviously. And he's held captive in a cage, and they're like, this is the new Emperor of the Sea. And it was just great comedy. And what I also liked about it, that this chapter also focused on what happened to Buggy and how he became an emperor. And I really liked that idea. It was perfect to see Crocodile and Mihawk and them teaming up, and then they going to Buggy, and how Buggy just became the head of all things, and how Crocodile and Mihawk thought that, what? It doesn't sound right, but, we'll just roll with it. It was great comedy, great information, and great everything. And we got also another nice comparison between Mihawk and Zoro, that Mihawk was actually called the Marine Hunter, just like, Zoro is called the Pirate Hunter. So it was really great to see this comparison between these two, and it's a nice reveal too. And let's see, I talked about that. Obviously, in the end, we got to see Kamabaka Kingdom, and in Kamabaka Kingdom there is Kuma, who was rescued by Sabo and Co. But Sabo is not on the island. Sabo disappeared, and at the end of the chapter he's calling. It was very exciting, and you just know that there's something up. and you could feel the excitement. It was brilliant. I really liked it. And also new bounty posters, which were interesting to say the least. I mean, Frankie as Sunny, it was a weird thing. I'm not sure later on what will happen to him, as a result, but we'll see. Oh, sorry. And if we move on, we also got to see poor Chopper, and there is Robin, Usopp, obviously. But the main thing is that now Luffy is in the top, then comes Zoro, then comes Jinbei, and then comes Sanji. So Sanji fell down from the top 3. The monster trio is no more because there is either a monster quartet or there is nothing else. Well, obviously Jinbei is very, very strong, so as a warlord he should be in the top 3 no matter what, but it's funny to see him in this different role, and I really like these reveals. Okay, let's move on to chapter 1060, which is titled Luffy's Dream. This is the first chapter well, not the first chapter, but this is the chapter which implies that Luffy has another dream besides being the king of the pirates. When we got to see the flashback, the Sabo flashback after Marineford, it was hinted that Luffy had another wish besides becoming the pirate king, and now we got to see that he shared his dream with his crew, who never knew about this, but seeing their reactions, it's really something sweet, and I don't mind not knowing what Luffy's dream is. I feel it is very poetic. It's cool. It's cool to have that. And also what happened here, obviously Robin is giving them so much information because Robin has updated her information from the newspapers. She didn't really care about the bounties. What she cared about are the news around the world, and there were plenty of news. One of these news was regarding Sabo, that Sabo killed King Cobra, and Luffy is like, no, he didn't do it, and let's go to Sabo, whatever, whatnot. And Zoro was the one who said that, you know what, you didn't go to Ace, you shouldn't go to Sabo either. Remember what you said after Thriller Bark? And Luffy's like, yeah, kinda do. You have a point. But, he really didn't want it to be true. So there is that, and I really like this callback. Another thing that happened is that the crew was very concerned about Vivi because Vivi disappeared, and it was really nice that those crew members who knew Vivi were actually really, really concerned about her. And this is why Robin read the newspaper and not Nami, because if Nami read the newspaper, maybe her reactions wouldn't have been such as it was shown in this chapter. And I really like that they cared for Vivi so much, and I hope we see Vivi soon. And what happened? Sorry, I can't really see. I just cheat a bit. I'm back. So what I really liked about it is that in the end we get to go to Lulusia Island or Kingdom, where the king and his daughter are in prison because the people have overthrown the government, and they said that, well, we want democracy and not a ruler of such a king as you are, and you should just stop being a king and the princess. And they were not really having it. And it seemed like that Sabo's conversation with Sabo's conversation with the Revolutionary Army has got out of hands, and of course the Marines and the other fights were listening to it, and they said, well, it's a pity that Sabo is there near Lulusia Island, at least, because it was about to be destroyed. And boy, was it destroyed. This chapter is definitely in the top 3 as well, because it's just brilliant. And we are not sure if Sabo is dead or not. I don't really care about Sabo that much. Sorry about that. I'm not a Sabo fan at all. But what I liked about it is that it had such a sort of sense of danger. And, Imu was like, and the whole island disappeared. Many people speculate that this might be the cause. The cause might be the weapon Uranus, which means the air. So we have three kind of weapons. One from the sea, Shirahoshi, and the other one Pluton, which is not really the ground, but it's obviously above the ground, above sea level, and one from the air. So it has to be Uranus, right? But wiping out a country, Lulusia must have done something wrong. I mean, Alabasta wasn't made disappear like that. So what did Lucia do to deserve this? It's not just overthrowing a country. It has to be more, because there were so many things that happened. Why make a country disappear? That's an interesting question. Oh, it's so exciting. And of course, at the end of the chapter, Luffy and Co encounter Bonnie. They don't know that they encountered Bonnie, but it will happen soon enough. And it was great to see her back, because she was one of the members of the new generation, which we haven't heard about, but we were very, very curious about, because obviously we speculated that she was Kuma's daughter, which came true in the end. So we got some information about that too. Number 7, regarding the timeline. Chapter 1061, Egghead, the Island of the Future. Basically, it is the next chapter. These were so good. I cannot really describe it. I have described it in my reaction videos, so if you want to check them out, be sure to do so. I really like this chapter because, we got to introduce to Vegapunk, basically. We didn't know back then that this was just a satellite or a version of Vegapunk. I was like, what? This is Vegapunk? Oh, okay, she looks nice. But, we couldn't be sure about that. But it was really great. And also, we got to see a very, very nice panel of a robotic shark compared to the Sunny. It was brilliant and great. I really liked that a lot, actually. So, yeah, that was great too. And... sorry, I have to cheat again. Yeah, there was a sea battle of sort. And I really liked that, how the crew managed to work together and how they got underwater. Everything just worked so fine. Again, great panels, great drawings were there, which I really appreciate. It's almost as if it was a Fishman Island situation, at the beginning when they encountered the anglerfish or whatever that was. It was that type of thing, and I really liked it. And I really like the quartet of Jinbei, Bonnie, Chopper, and Luffy. They are just such a goofy characters that it's so interesting to have them and discover the island and whatnot. And there were many Bonnie fan service too, which, I'm not really sure if I should care about it or not, but, they were actually quite nice drawings, to say the least. And, yeah, I think that's about it. Sorry. I forgot to say one more thing. And we got to see other members of the Sword who were saying that, oh my god, what will happen to Koby? And let's help him. And they are near Egghead Island, so they might come back in this arc, in our current arc. And also what I really appreciated is that we got to see Tashigi and the kids, so it was great. And the last chapter, the 8th, is my number 1 from last year for 2022, or this year, because it's still 2022. In 2022, the best chapter for me was chapter 1059, the Captain Koby incident. It was just about perfect. I wasn't sure if I should give it a 10 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10, but it was definitely there. There were so many things going on there. It was just brilliant. And no straw hats inside, almost. Well, we did get to see them at the beginning because there was Marco, and Marco and Luffy had a small conversation, which I really liked and appreciated. It was great. Then we had a small Yamato flashback, and when I reacted to this, I was like, we don't really need a reason for Yamato staying behind. It was a huge disappointment that Yamato said that she or he wouldn't join the crew, or joins the crew but not in the sense, and it was like, what, I don't care about you anymore, I don't care about Wano anymore, just get out of here. This is how I felt back then. Maybe now I don't feel as radical as I did there, but it just wasn't the right place in the chapter. This is why the 9.5 and not exactly 10 out of 10 chapter for me, because of this Yamato flashback. But after that, oh my god. So Koby arrived on Amazon Lily, and he wanted to force Boa Hancock to give up her title, blah 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 blah, etc etc, and Blackbeard appeared. Wow. And it seemed like Blackbeard wanted to have her devil fruit too. I cannot really say or tell how these things are possible, but it was just brilliant how the Hancock versus Blackbeard, great panels, great conversations, and Boa, great facial expressions. Everything went on so well. And it's like, there was a stale situation, they couldn't do anything about it. So exciting. And then really showed up to, really like, okay, kids, you should stop it. And he could stop it now, but later he said that, what, I could stop it now, but I'm not sure next time my name will be enough to stop Blackbeard or anybody else. And fortunately, Amazon Lily and everybody else there survived this attack, and even Hancock survived this attack, and she was wondering if she could marry Luffy, because it would be the nice thing to do. But there was a huge reveal here too, because it turned out that Shaky was actually Shakuyaku, and she was the former empress on Amazon Lily, which was a nice touch. I was like, really? Oh, that's so cool. So she can fight. She is strong in a sense, and her relationship with Rayleigh, it's like, that kind of fits. So yeah, was there anything I wanted to pick on here? And of course, the most important part, or no, there were two more important parts. One of them is that Koby got abducted by the Blackbeard pirates. It's a huge shock. What will happen to him? Will he side with Blackbeard and then side with Luffy? We don't know. And the second, the appearance of the Seraphims. We weren't sure, and I wasn't sure back then, that they were actually Boa and Mihawk's Seraphims, but it was like, what? These exist? Wow. Such great panels, such great reveals, and everything else. So this was my favorite chapter of the year. Sorry, I've been talking, I don't know, for hours, but I really liked this year's One Piece chapters. There were some misses, and these last few chapters, my last chapter, I really said that it was good, was 61, but it's not entirely true. I mean, after 61, the rest of the chapters were great as well. I mean, there were huge reveals, the real Vegapunk, the Vegapunk flashbacks, but there was always something in the chapter which didn't push it high enough to be in the top, in my top 8. I couldn't do a top 10 because there were so many good chapters between 60 and 70 that I would have been unable to decide which of them should go there, which of them shouldn't be there. So I decided that these are my top 8, which were a letdown. Wano's end is obviously missing from here, and a few ending chapters of Wano, the reveal of what was it again? The reveal of another Wano underground. There were great panels, and One Piece had great things here and there, but it wasn't just a superb chapter. These were the chapters which really sold the series for me this year. The other chapters were good, but they all had something which weren't quite there. As I said, that the other chapter, that, you know, the Warrior of Liberation, it was good, but there was Orochi and Kanjuro, and it just dragged that chapter a bit down for me. What I expect from next year, I don't know. Oda said that he wants to have battle royale, someone fighting someone else. It could go either way. Maybe Blackbeard and Shanks will have a showdown, and Shanks will... I don't know. I really don't know. I expect to go to Elbaf. I really want to visit Elbaf. But, you know, maybe the Sword will side with Straw Hat Crew, and they will side with Vegapunk. I'm not sure what will happen to Vegapunk either. It seems like Vegapunk has a, you know, death signature on him. I can't really understand how Vegapunk could join the crew or could side with the crew. It's... I don't know. But, you know, it's Oda. Oda can do anything, right? So, thank you very much for listening to me this whole entire time and listening my babblings about this chapter. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you will continue to watch my channel next year. I try to do better. I will. I do have, you know, work to do. I have life apart from this, so it's not like I'm doing 5 hours a day to manage this YouTube channel. And I'm really sorry if I don't immediately react to any of your comments or whatever. It's not because of you. It's really because of me, because I'm not really good at this, am I? But if you like the content, you know what to do. And please do it, and hopefully we'll see each other next year. Up until then, I wish you a very happy new year and a better year ahead of ourselves, right? Happy New Year to you. See you next time. Bye-bye.